Well, Chef Hal Holden-Bache, the hardest last name in Nashville to pronounce, but a really cool story. Thank you for allowing us to come into your beautiful restaurant. You just celebrated 10 years.
10 years. We just turned 10, yep.
Had a little party.
Nice party, yeah. We closed off the street and everything.
It looked like a fun time on the Instagram.
Yeah, we had our friends from Nectar come and do some food along with the Nicoletto brothers and had some music going on and had a real nice time.
Yeah, you're wildly busy at this place. We tried to come in for dinner, couldn't get in the door. I came in later that night around 8:30, couldn't get in the door. You're slammed.
I do try to tell people, make a reservation. I mean, if you don't, you might have to wait. You might get lucky, find some seats at the bar. But, for Fridays and Saturdays, you probably definitely need a reservation. I would make a reservation any night of the week just to make sure that you had a table waiting for you when you arrived.
For sure.
If you didn't want to wait too long.
Yeah. What inspired you to pick this area of Nashville?
Kara and I had already been together in East Nashville at another restaurant that we managed together for about 5 years. And during those 5 years, Kara already lived in East Nashville. That was kind of my first time coming over to East Nashville because my jobs previously in Nashville were more in the Vanderbilt area or downtown at the Hermitage Hotel. So when we were finishing up with the one job in East Nashville, we had made so many friends over here. We had created quite a following over here. We did research the entire city when it came to space. Just to see if anything else was out there. It was also interesting to compare, real estate prices in different areas of the city. But Kara and I always wanted to stay in East Nashville, and it was actually Kara who came across the building and saw the for sale sign and brought it to mine and Floyd's attention. Floyd is our third partner in Lockeland Table, and we all came and visited, and this picture right here, the third picture on the wall, is what the building looked like when we saw the for sale sign outside.
Wow.
So when we came the first day to tour, you can see from the outside that it kind of just looks like a square, nothing too crazy, but I'm serious, man. Like when we opened the front door and the space just opened up, it was really quite amazing because from the outside it seemed kind of small. But then when we opened the door and actually saw the space, that's when I think it first hit me that, this is actually a possibility of a future restaurant for us. And I think after viewing it and daydreaming, we settled that we wanted to try to buy the building. And it took some time, but probably it was around Valentine's Day, I think, of 2012 that we actually secured the property. And became the owners of the property. John Guider owned this building before us to do his photography work in. And then we started, obviously, to take it over, begin the demolition, and begin the construction of turning a building that had never been a restaurant before into a restaurant. Then, the fire chief walks in a week before we're supposed to open, and tells us that we got to put a hood system above our wood-fired oven, which we thought we were just going to run a chimney like every other wood-fired oven you see in your life. So we kind of argued about that a little bit, but I don't think you win arguments with the fire marshal.
No.
They're actually probably more powerful than maybe the health department. But
who you also don't want to piss off.
Well, and our budget was kind of spent, and here we had to come up with $75 more for a hood system that we didn't know we were going to need. We had all this beautiful copper work that we had planned for the facade of the pizza oven that we had to, change. And but we went with it. Got the hood system and got open, and here we are 10 years later.
I mean, you are a staple of this community. I think you've been named like the nicest or most community-minded restaurant in East Nashville. What made you so community-minded? I mean, you use local potters and farms. What gave you that inspiration to go that way?
Well, and even in the beginning, when we were working on naming Lockeland Table, we named it Lockeland Table Community Kitchen and Bar. And I think the community part kind of threw people off a little bit. They thought of not like, were we inviting people in to like train them how to cook or things like this, people would ask. And It's like, no, I think we just like the way it sounded. We want to be a positive part of the community, not just as a place that you can come and eat at the end of your day, but also in how we get involved. We're very involved. We do many events throughout the year. Lockeland Table gives back on a daily basis during our community hour, which is our version of happy hour from 4 to 6 o'clock. A percentage of our proceeds every day are going to local schools' PTO programs. Here in East Nashville, we have a school that we support, and then we also support my son's school, and now I got one in middle school and one in elementary school. So now there's 2 schools in Kingston Springs. But basically, we take the money earned, best brands, doubles what we put in, and then we share this money equally with the 3 PTO programs.
That's amazing. It's really cool that Best Brands matches that or doubles it.
Well,
That's really cool.
we have other sponsors that help us in the community hour program as well. I don't know that I can sit here and tell you every one of them off the top of my head, but I think the bottom line is that we're giving back daily. And then every so often, we collect this money and disperse it and put it where it needs to go. And I can tell you, it feels good as a person, not to just be part of programs like this, but like the day that I actually get to go into the school and hand that to the principal, at my kid's school. It's so cool to be able to do things like this and to have a business that is able to do cool things for the community. And like I said, there's many other events that we're also, part of. I'm actually doing this Sunday Dinner on Main in Kingston Springs, where I live, which is a big dinner that we do on Main Street, down the center of the street, that benefits the farmers market and the parks department in Kingston Springs. And then in another month in October, we'll be doing Meals on Wheels at Westglow Farm in Kingston Springs, which benefits the ARC and the Cheatham County Meals on Wheels program. So got a lot of events coming up, but throughout the year, we're always involved in a lot of things that, benefit the community. And it's great to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know it also, I know it's not the reason that you do it, but it also gives you more community buy-in. People feel more attached to you. There's a sense of loyalty. They want you to survive because you're helping them survive. It's a very cohesive cycle that you all working together. You sustain the community, they sustain you, and it's just a great relationship to always push that even further. How do you find the people that make your plates? When you come up with a menu, do you find a farm that can match the menu, or do you make a menu based on what that farm has?
Well, you just said a great word. You said relationships, and we like that word because so much of what we do is based on relationships and how we've gotten into them over the years, how we've met people. When we were first opening Lockeland Table, I was introduced to Chris Winters from a mutual friend. And Chris and his family, Tracy and Winston, had just, I think, gotten back to Tennessee, where Chris had grown up years ago, and they were starting a farm out in Bethpage called White Squirrel Farm. Lockeland Table was opening the same time White Squirrel Farms was kind of getting their farm up and off the ground. And Chris and I met, and we decided that we would work together. That has been super cool and amazing. And just during our 10-year anniversary party, and as the weeks before the 10-year anniversary approached, I had certain moments of remembering things that I had forgotten and just reminiscing about the 10 years. And some of it was, a little emotional. But I remember reaching out to Chris like 2 weeks before the anniversary party and simply telling him, thank you for your support over the years. I really feel like you have helped me become a better chef, because he's shown me in all these offerings that they're planning, hey, in 2 weeks, this is going away, this is coming in. So, me and Jason have time to talk about the menu changes and switch from one ingredient to the next. We're actually going into a menu change this Friday as summer things start to kind of go away and fall things start to show up. But, I think, we were talking earlier about Marco Marco Pierre White, and I think it was him that says, Mother Nature is the true artist. We follow her lead. And I think in that phrase, there is truth. And if you are cooking what the earth is currently providing, you're cooking good, fresh food. And that's the base of the equation is, to get good products, care for them, prep them properly, and then ultimately execute them well during service for the guest. And, food can be as simple as that.
What's been the inspiration for the fall menu this year?
I think the inspiration is always, might just be what's going on at the moment, in my own life, something I've experienced recently, something I saw on TV, something I saw on Instagram. But I think it all always stems from the farm. It's like, okay, next week, these are the new arrivals. Like our new pasta dish that we're about to go into is going to definitely be dealing with winter squashes, kale, maybe arugula, maybe pecans, probably some cornbread crumbs.
Going back to that Beat Bobby Flay. Yeah. That worked.
But I usually kind of just see what the farm is offering, and that's the list that I'll use to then go write the menu. I'll call Danny Nicoletto at the Pasta Factory and, tell him what kind of pasta that I'm interested in for that particular menu item. And then, by Wednesday or Thursday, we'll have all the supplies gathered. So Friday morning, we can, go into a menu change and be organized and, knock it out.
Anything that you're really looking forward to put on the menu this time?
Well, one thing that's fun is we're bringing our mussels back, which we've kind of put on hold for a while during the hot months, just because mussels, even if they're from places where it's cold, it's still warmer there than it normally is. And we're getting quite a third of the bag we're coming in not so healthy. But we do a red curry mussel dish. Oddly enough, you just said the Beat Bobby Flay. When I was in New York doing that show, I went to a restaurant that inspired me to study Thai curry. I came home and did so for about 8 months because I was doing more of like a French bistro kind of mussel. I was nervous to go into an Asian, themed dish. I just didn't know if it was going to be accepted well. But we ended up changing it, and I think our sales doubled. And the red curry mussels have just become a house favorite. And, we finished with some cilantro and mint. And, during the pandemic, Asian supplies got difficult to find.
Right.
We're able to, get what we need again. And I think the guests are going to be excited to see that back on the menu. But we're definitely, saying goodbye to a lot of the tomatoes and saying hello to mushrooms again on the pizza station. And, should be a good, fun menu change coming up here on Friday. I think we're only going to change maybe 4 things on Friday. And that's typically what I'll do. I'll do like 2 to 4 1 week. And then, as things continue to go away and come into season, we'll do a couple more the next week. And then the menu might even have a holding pattern for, 2 or 3 weeks while everything is kind of here. And then, things will start to change again.
Where'd the love for pizza come in?
Well, I definitely love pizza. My childhood, growing up when pizza was a treat. Like we would order pizza maybe once a month, and it was a huge deal. And now pizza is just something you grab on the way home because you had a busy day. It's not, like a ceremony almost, like it was growing up. I'd go with my mom to pick it up, and I'd put it on my lap, on
Nice
the way
and warm.
home, the warmth of the pizza, not eating a piece until you got home. The whole experience of ordering it, picking it up, getting it home, looking for the 3 biggest pieces because we were only allowed to eat 3 pieces each. But, growing up, when I knew I wanted to go into, culinary and study, while I was in culinary school, I worked at a local pizzeria called Tony's. And I worked there with a bunch of my friends. It was a great time of my life. I was learning. I was working. I was, building a future, but I was also having a lot of fun. And, it started there. When I went to the Greenbrier, I worked my first wood-burning oven at the golf club at the Greenbrier, and I just loved it. I wanted to work that station nightly if possible. And most of my career has probably evolved around a wood-burning oven or a grill. I can saute, and that's probably what we mostly do at home a lot, But in the kitchen at the restaurant, I'm definitely more comfortable on the pizza oven or on the grill.
You touched on cooking at home. I want to know, how have you found the balance between being a dad and a husband, living so far away and still making this place run on all cylinders? Because just from Instagram, I feel like you get to spend a lot of time at home being a dad. How did you make that work? Because there are so many restaurant owners and chefs that do not have a balance at all.
Well, I'm 47 years old, and I don't mean to make myself sound old when I say that, but I opened a restaurant hoping to get some control of my life. Prior to opening a restaurant, building a reputation, I was working 5-6 days, 10 to 15 hours a day, 70, 80 hours a week. And that's what I did as a young chef, and pre-kids. And my wife was working in the morning, I was working in the evening, She kissed me at 6 in the morning, I kissed her at midnight. On Sundays I slept and ate. So I think, as I was meeting with Floyd, back in those days, trying to figure out, my future, I was looking into possibly becoming a country club chef. Maybe the hours were better. I could get more vacation time, maybe. Owning a restaurant was always a dream. It was the ultimate goal. I think when we figured out that we could open a restaurant and we found the right people to help us open a restaurant, that was still the goal, and here I am, when we opened the restaurant, I was 35, I think. Cole was born and we opened the restaurant 2 months later. So I became a father and a restaurateur. We had already bought Lockeland Table and been building it and all that while my wife was pregnant. And that was great that I was home during her pregnancy, because we would have meetings during the day, but then I'd always be home at night, because I obviously didn't have a restaurant job at the moment. But, it was nice to be home and cook dinner for her while she was pregnant and she was working and she could relax. And in the first 3 years, I was working a lot. I was getting home and trying to be as helpful as I could be at home. And like I always said, wherever I was going to try to do my best. I can't be at both places at one time. So when I'm at the restaurant, I'm doing my best. When I'm at home, I'm doing my best. And it was hard. I think it was harder than I knew it was, just because I was kind of on cloud 9, giving these beautiful opportunities. I think 6 months in, I caught myself in the mirror one day and I was like, damn, dude, you do not look good. Your spirit might be in a good spot, but I'm not sure if your body is. And I'm talking more about my face, my eyes. I just look tired. And I think as time went on, 1.5 years into Lockeland Table, I hired a sous chef, which I didn't have the first 1.5 years. And that made things better. Some of my responsibility was taken away. I was still working quite a bit. 2017, I think we were trying to manage managers. That never worked out in the kitchen. And that only recently worked out in the kitchen about probably 2 months ago. Since reopening from COVID, we've been understaffed. We've had to close days because we needed to give our staff a day off.
It's a different world.
But here recently, we made 2 good hires. And, these guys are, good workers, knowledgeable. And for the first time in my career, I am actually at the point of managing managers. And even before that, when we reopened and we were understaffed, I always tried to work from 8:30 in the morning until whatever time I could leave, whether that was 4:30, 6:30. I wanted to get home for part of the evening household events, whether it was dinner, baths, homework, just hanging out, being part of my family's life. I remember seeing in so many famous chefs during interviews or shows, they all complain about the same thing. And one of the things that they complain about is that they missed the first 10 years of their kid's life. And I knew that I did not want to be that person. So I was always looking for that balance. It was kind of always unbalanced, or maybe one week I did have a better home situation, but then the next week something happened at the restaurant to where I was, all in back at the restaurant, for that week, and it was an inconsistent balance. But I was still trying to do my best, in both places. But now my goal is to be home at night. Jason, our sous chef, has things under control. We have a great staff. We have Judson as our AM sous chef, and then we now have Jerry also as a sous chef to be available when Judson and Jason might not be around. So I've got great managers in the kitchen. We have a great staff, and I want to go home before the sun goes down and spend the evening with my family.
That's
now,
awesome.
If I can't do that and I need to be at the restaurant, that's fine, and they'll be okay. And I've got a supportive wife at the house, which obviously helps. But my goal these days is to be here in the morning and to be at home in the evening.
That's awesome. I mean, I've noticed that, we all see the Nashville hospitality page and everything's on Facebook and Instagram, and your restaurant is one of the ones that I've rarely seen looking for people. And I think that goes to show the type of place that you run, the people that you hire have excellence, have standards, have morals, and you go the extra distance in trying to find great people to work here that are of that same mentality, that you don't just hire a fly-by-night cook or server that's just going to run out in the first 3 weeks. So that's good.
You're absolutely right. We do have a lot of long-term employees here at Lockeland Table, and I think that is, the energy and the chemistry that builds that family environment.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. I love it. And I love that you can see all the way to the back and everybody's connected. There's something about, as a cook, getting to watch the guests eat your food.
Yeah.
And, you watch that first bite, and if it's like there's something that invigorates you, gives you more energy to keep going. If you see this,
Yeah.
you're kind of like, oh, God. Speaking of, you want to make a pizza?
Yeah. All right. Here we are at Lockeland Table's Pizza Bar, making a margarita pizza, the king of all pizzas, named after a queen. Whenever we were originally opening Lockeland Table, the time came for me to write a wish list of all the ingredients and all the equipment that we would need to open the kitchen so we could get the budget together. And the first thing that I wrote on my wish list was a wood-burning oven, mainly for pizzas, but we also do many other things in the wood-burning oven. So we've spread our dough. I take it over to the peel. I have some San Marzana tomatoes that we've just basically pureed with some salt to act as the base of the margarita pizza, leaving a lip for the crust, of course. We have some house-pulled mozzarella that we make pretty much daily here at the restaurant, if not daily, every other day, because we also have a pig pizza on the menu that gets the house-pulled mozzarella as well, but we smoke it and add a little smoke flavor to it to go with all the cured meats that go on the pig pizza. And that's also a house favorite, and a pizza that will more than likely never come off of our menu.
What are the meats on there?
We have pepperoni, ham, sausage, and bacon. So we've constructed the pizza. We're about to go in the oven, and when it comes out of the oven, we will garnish it with Georgia olive oil, salt, and micro basil from CC Gardens. So here's what it looks like before, and we're about to go in the oven. And here we go, taking it to the oven that's been having a fire going now since about 9:30 this morning. So it's nice and hot.
What temperature do you think that is? 400?
No, I'm gonna say it's probably around 850.
850?
Yeah. And then what we want to do is, create a bed of embers to maintain constant heat, but then we also like to throw in, chunks of wood every once in a while, just to keep the flame going, because the flame is also important to the pizza. And we do use hickory wood here at Lockeland Table for our wood-burning pizza oven. It's also the same wood that we use in the back of the restaurant when we're smoking things in our beautiful smoker. Hickory is a hardwood, So in the wood-fired oven, that means more BTUs per pound, where in the smoker out back, it means that, but also flavor. People will often say that they taste the wood on the pizza, and maybe they do, but I think you taste it more when it's smoked on the smoker.
So I mean, it's been in there for a minute. You've already got bubbles forming, cheese is melting, crust is bubbling, getting all nice and golden brown on the bottom.
We just want to always keep our eye on it. Every 20 to 40 seconds, we'll need to spin the pizza so the side that's closest to the fire and the hot embers is the side that's obviously taking on the most heat.
What other flavors of pizza do you have on the menu right now? What's coming in the fall that people can get excited about?
Well, we talked about the pig pizza there for a minute, which is a house favorite. We've always got the margarita, which is also a vegetarian. We also offer another vegetarian pizza at all times that we call the Woodstock. That is about to change from a tomato pizza to more of a mushroom pizza, along with some fennel. And then we currently also have a steak pizza on the menu, kind of a play on a cheesesteak with onions and peppers and mushrooms. And that's also a way that we utilize a lot of our trim as we're butchering throughout the week.
Nice. A little cross-utilization, no waste. Love it.
So we always have 4 pizzas on the menu, and then we always have a nightly pizza special as well. And another thing that comes out of the oven every day is a wood-fired vegetable, which is also on the menu, which is also changing daily, and it's just an inspiration from what's coming off the farm at the moment.
Does your pizza chef ever get to come up with a special for the day, or?
They do. I prefer that my pizza chef takes care of all that. You know, it's one of the things about working with talented people is to hopefully, after they get the menu items understood and down, I want to then offer people the ability to be creative and express themselves.
That's awesome.
Because we all have so much to say, and obviously we can all learn from each other because we all have such different food backgrounds.
Absolutely. Well, there's nothing better than you take that ownership of having something that you created on a menu, and you just, when someone orders it, you're like, oh man, it's a little bit of validation.
Well, and I think it's neat for the staff too to be able to do that, you know, and share, and it helps them feel good about themselves and part of the team. And you know, people get to come up and say, hey, I really enjoyed what you did tonight, and it makes you feel good.
Absolutely.
So we're about done here. The pizza's looking nice and bubbly. The crust is good. We'll put it onto the plate here. At this point in time, the margarita pizza needs to be garnished. So we do so with some kosher salt, a little sprinkle. This is the Georgia olive oil that we only finish with. I would never use this for sauteing. I only finish with this oil. I like to get a little bit on the crust for sure, and then just kind of hit the top of the pizza with some oil. And then the lovely micro basil that we get from CC Gardens, our friend Charlie Crawford right down the road. I have some already cut off the rock wool here, and we'll take this and sprinkle it on top. And not only is it beautiful, but I'm going to give you one to try.
Pack some flavor?
It packs some flavor. I mean, it's small and delicate.
Oh man.
But the basil flavor is definitely
huge.
there. And you know, once again, we're doing something that a lot of people do with a little bit of a difference, just with such a nice olive oil and a micro basil as opposed to a leaf basil. And adding the basil at the end instead of the beginning before it goes in the oven, which might be a debate in the margarita world, but I always like the basil to go on afterwards. And the heat of the pizza will still kind of blossom the flavor a little bit.
It's so delicate. It's such a delicate herb. It's great.
Yeah. So this is a finished product. We'd of course slice it and sell it to the guests at this point in time. We usually slice our pizzas into 6 pieces. A lot of places,
Perfectly made for your pizza.
yeah, a lot of places will only do it into 4s. But if it's an 8 top and we're paying attention and we see that it's an 8 top, we'll make it easy for people and cut it into 8 just so it's a little more shareable. But typically we'll slice our pizza into 6 pieces. And I mean, not only is this beautiful, but it's delicious, and like I said earlier, it's the perfect pizza. And I don't use the word perfect very often.
I'm just waiting for the chance that I get to eat it. It's all. Can I have this now? It's so good.
Go ahead.
Hal, thank you so much.
Go ahead and grab your pizza. There you go.
That's so good. That cheese, that olive oil adds that richness, a little finishing salt. This is literally a perfect piece of pizza.
Yeah, I love it.
This is so good.
I'm definitely a pizza guy. I don't, people always said, cheeseburgers, like, why don't you do a cheeseburger? It's like, why would I do a cheeseburger? Like, we have pizza. I don't think those two things maybe belong under the same roof.
Do a cheeseburger pizza, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. And we've done a Big Mac pizza.
Really?
Where we've actually, like, put some sesame seeds into the crust.
A little special sauce.
Done the meat and the pickles and all that business. Put like a little shredded lettuce on it. We've done like an Italian subs pizza, similar, where we'll like dress the chiffonade lettuce like in some oil and some red vinegar and, put that on the top.
Have you done a Nashville hot chicken pizza yet?
No, but we do and have done in the past hot pig ears. So we kind of use the Nashville chicken, in pig ears, and then in the barbecue world too, with the Alabama whites, we use that as our slaw dressing. And I've always loved that dish because it took two of Nashville's big things, hot chicken and barbecue, and brought it onto the same plate in a little bit of a unique way with the crispy pig ears and the coleslaw, which I love, putting some of the pig ears, some of the coleslaw, some of the homemade pickles on a piece of white bread, and we call those white bread tacos, and just delicious.
So good. Chef, thank you so much.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Y'all check out Lockeland Table, make reservations, come get some pizza or whatever else this man is offering. Staple in the community. It's been awesome. Thank you, Chef.
Thanks, guys.
So good.